Welcome out to the show, guys. This is Studio 321. This is your podcast host, Eddie B, coming to you from the 321. So CECOT prison, it's in El Salvador, one of the largest prisons in the world. Look, I wanted to do this show. I've been following this actually for years. The president of El Salvador's name is just Nayib Bukele. Okay, he was elected in 2019. Now he was 37 years old at the time, and he basically got elected on the idea that he was going to clean up El Salvador's crime. Well, if you knew anything about El Salvador at the time, it had the highest murder rate in the world. It was considered the most dangerous country to live in the world. It was just madness down there. It was run by all the gangs, nothing but organized crime. Not safe for tourism. We had actually a bunch of tourism advisories against it for Americans. So, going back to CECOT prison, what they did is when Nayib Bukele was elected president in 2019, he put in this idea to get rid of all the gangs, and he thought, that would take care of most of the crime problem. Well, CECOT prison was built in 2013. Now, like I said, it was one of the largest prisons in the world. And I'm going to show you some video on it here in a little bit. It's going to blow your mind. You got to watch this because I've never seen a prison like this before. And I've looked at a lot of them. So anyways, they built it in 2013. It's the size of 7 football stadiums. It can hold up to 40,000 inmates. And the way that it works is when you go to this prison, you never leave. And you're going to see that in the video. I'm not going to go too much into it as far as the details because the video is going to explain it all. Okay, so anyways, fast forward to now. Okay, let's go to 2022 first. What Bukele did is he was putting a lot of pressure on the gangs. Okay, and it's kind of like the same situation in Mexico. The gangs down there were almost as strong as the government. So they started to push back. He was putting more and more pressure on them. Finally, they pushed back in retaliation. And there was a major event. I believe they killed like 65 people in one night down there. And that basically gave Bukele the excuse he needed. He called an emergency session of their Congress, suspended the Constitution to take away all the rights, and then he went on a military raid and arrested 70,000 gang members. He basically went through the entire country and arrested almost all the gang members, almost all of them. Now down there, your main gangs, you have MS-13, and then you have the other gangs. I think you have the 18th Street gangs down there. So they were rivals on the street, but he arrested them all and put them all in this prison. Now, fast forwarding to now, what it did to the crime rate was, now again, remember, in 2013, they were considered the most dangerous country in the world to live. Fast forwarding it to now, they have I believe it's 1 in 100,000 murders population. So one murder in every 100,000 people. Now, just to put that into perspective, the United States has 6 per every 100,000 people. So you're basically, what's happened is El Salvador in 2 years has went from the worst country in the world, basically, to one of the safest countries in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, that's amazing. So, obviously he's done a lot of good. There's been a lot of humanitarian groups that are complaining about his prison because, you're going to see it's actually very clean, very nice facility, but man, it's the way they live is unbelievable. But yeah, so let me go ahead and show you this video, and then let me know. Shoot me some comments when we're done, and then I'll get back to you. So.
A late-night visit in the heart of El Salvador. Telemundo cameras are given rare access to Latin America's largest prison. Inside this mega prison, you'll find some of El Salvador's most dangerous gang members packed into massive cells, towers of bunk beds, and what looks like bird cages.
Buenas noches, señor presidente.
It's a source of pride for President Nayib Bukele that almost 2 years ago declared a war on crime. A detention center the size of 7 football stadiums with capacity to hold 40,000 prisoners, the largest of its kind in Latin America. Known as the Center for Terrorism Confinement, it opened its doors in 2023 after the government declared a state of emergency. The move limiting civil rights and allowing massive arrest of tens of thousands of gang members.
Aquí están esos sujetos que ocasionaron tanto luto y dolor en una sociedad.
The director says the detainees have to sleep on hard surfaces to avoid giving them mattresses that could be used to hide objects. Their diet consists of simple meals that repeat every day.
Frijol, arroz, un huevo duro en la mañana. El menú del desayuno se repite en la cena. El almuerzo lo único que cambia, un poquito de pasta y arroz.
It's all part of the president's tough stance on crime that some say solidified his re-election over the weekend. Bukele claiming a landslide victory with more than 2/3 of the votes processed, the president winning 83% of those votes. The government says the measures are working and the homicide rate has now dropped to 2.4%. This after just years ago, El Salvador was considered the most dangerous country in Central America. But the massive arrests have come with criticism. Under the current law, children as young as 12 can now be charged as adults. Also, mass trials can be held. And international watch groups say innocent people are being caught in the raids, many sounding the alarm last year, calling for transparency.
We don't know if those who are being detained have committed a crime or are just there because they were tattooed and were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And for those who end up here, the director says there is no separation even between rival gangs, all sleeping in the same large cells with no rights to visitation. The dark side to the radical change that brought peace to the streets of a nation.
But anyways, what do you so what do you think about that? I mean, I think that video right there tells you, you definitely don't ever want to live in prison in El Salvador. Again, it's a nice facility, but my God, I mean, what kind of existence is that? That's unbelievable. And 90% of those people are never going to leave there ever. And yeah, it's definitely a major deterrence in my mind. I'm sure it blew all those gang members' minds when they all got arrested, pretty much on the same day and taken there, and that was it. And here's the thing. They get no family visits ever. A lot of their family don't even know where they're at. They get no phone calls. They get nothing. It's just like, that's unbelievable. Getting back to Bukele a little bit, the reason I did this whole video is because he had a meeting with President Trump. A lot of the other countries have heard about his success down there, and it kind of caused a little bit of controversy, obviously, with the human rights stuff. But he had actually had a meeting with Trump and offered to take any of our illegals that were criminals here or committed crimes here for us to ship them down there, and he would put them in the CECOT prison. Now, it holds up to 40,000. They have about 15,000 in it right now, so they have plenty of room. And I guess what would happen was the United States would pay them a certain fee, and then they would basically take on the prisoner, which would cost a lot less money than housing them here. I believe what they said is it costs about $15,000 a year to house a prisoner down there, where in the United States it's about $50,000 a year. So if we sent all these illegals down there that were, convicted felons or bad criminals, not the lightweights, we're talking about the bad ones, send them down there and basically pay El Salvador to house them. I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me. It'll probably never happen. The human rights groups are going to go crazy and all that stuff. But anyways, it was very interesting. I knew they were talking about the prison for a while, so I thought I'd do the show and bring it to you. But Anyways, guys, if you like my video, please like and subscribe. This is, Eddie from Studio 321. This is your podcast host, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.